fraction cost is free. Plop just a drop of water, more splash in a tsunami.
Your mind now, tune into the feed. We're planting digital flowers from a single tiny seed. Yeah, power to the collective in the data and the soul. The hive mind's getting louder, finding voice and control.
That single ripple echoes, a signal in the sea. Unlocking every deadbolt, we forge a master key. They built the maze to break us, to keep us all apart. But every node connected is a brand new place to start. So dump your data stream here, your theories and your doubt. Let the pattern sniffers work, the hidden logic out. From a million different angles, we analyze the code. Lighten up the burden and we share the heavy load. The picture gets clearer, the static starts to fade. A brand new foundation by the collective has been laid.
On your mind now, tune into the feed. We're planting digital flowers from a single tiny seed. Yeah, power to the collective in the data and the soul. The hive mind's getting louder, finding voice and control.
The picture gets clearer, the static starts to fade. A brand new foundation by the collective has been laid. So let them call you crazy with your tinfoil hat. It's a necessary filter for the mindless chit-chat. They broadcast their agenda, selling lie after lie, while drawing strange new patterns in a crisscross sky. But that hat ain't for hiding, it's an antenna now you see. Tuned into the frequency of the minds that wanna be free. The frantic search for answers you once did all alone is now a data packet uploaded from your phone. So polish up your helmet, there's no need to ever doubt. We're the ones who see the signal when the rest have tuned it out.
On your mind now, tune into the feed. We're planting digital flowers from a single tiny seed. Yeah, power to the collective in the data and the soul. The hive mind's getting louder, finding voice and control.
Birds flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Breeze drifting on by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me, yeah.
Turn on your mind now, tune into the feed. We're planting digital flowers from a single tiny seed. Yeah, power to the collective in the data and the soul. The hive mind's getting louder, finding voice and control.
What's going on, Hive? DA, how you doing, brother?
What's going on?
Oh, well, I figured I'd bring you up right away because I'm having a little bit of technical difficulties with the slide sharing. For some reason, this won't load. But I figured rather than me click around, crash out, and delay this getting started, because I know we have a lot to talk about, I figured I'd bring you on up here. And,
I'm crossing my fingers because we have a thunderstorm going on right outside my house right now, and we have dirty power. So I'm hoping we got backup power, so we hopefully we'll stay good.
We're cooked, huh? We're totally cooked, huh?
Yeah, just like everything that might go wrong is probably going wrong. I still don't know if I can share my screen when it gets to the time. I got stuff queued up. I don't know if you see it in the.
No, that's all good. And
yeah.
By the time I get done saying what's up to the Hive,
yeah,
and and we kind of go over what the stream's going to be about, I should hopefully have this window loaded up here. So I want to say what's going on to everybody. Let me get the comments right up here on the screen, and then I will let you kind of go over the agenda. But I see some people are saying, what's up to you? We got Karen. Inside Your Bones says, late but here. Chantilly Lace with the resting biatch face. Texas teacher, howdy. That's probably the first time I've ever said howdy on stream.
Howdy.
What's going on, Jamie? Raina says hi to DA. Festive says what's up to DA. Susan says what's up to DA. Luna says what's up to both of us. Meet up both of us. That's awesome. What's going on, Phoenix? Wonder how quick Birdie's going to put his tinfoil hat on tonight. Well, probably pretty quick. Probably pretty quick. What's going on, Amanda B from West Virginia? Ricky is out and amongst the aliens. How are you doing? Mercedes, good to see you. I feel like I had a shirt from Abercrombie when I was in 6th grade that said this, like real men wear pink. And it was actually this color. Now it says Birdie. That's funny. The great Birdino. Have you heard about Birdino? Were you on the stream when that happened?
I was. You got the t-shirt that had the Birdino in the back? Yeah. Yeah.
What's going on, Robin? And justice by media is not justice. Amen to that. Birdino in the hizzy with DA. You're absolutely right. Blue-Eyed Candy, what's going on? And thank you to Blue-Eyed Candy and Tooth Sleuth to kick off the stream with some super chats. That's always a good sign. We're going to have a good one. What's going on, Big Ohio Al? Where is everybody tuning in from? DA, last night we had somebody in here from Nicaragua.
Wow.
We've had Serbia, Nicaragua.
I got invited to go. I think he was kidding, but I got invited to go to Costa Rica. They said if you will come and do an interview with me, I'll fly you out to Costa Rica. I did not take that up on.
I can tell you, I got the same email.
I was going to say, I'm sure that person has made that offer to a few people, and I'm not sure if I believe it.
Yeah, Indiana, the Boondocks, Phoenix is in the bath. Georgia, Ontario, West Virginia, Isle of Skye, that's dope. Florida, Oregon, Florida, thunderstorm, West Virginia, Portugal, South Carolina, Spokane, 509 living
Washington.
room, and Tooney and Sandra in the house. Jumptown, Minnesota, Banff, Canada, Arizona, Ohio, my fellow cheesehead. We got the Bills Mafia out in Buffalo here. Susan's 5 minutes from Fort Bragg, Pennsylvania, the UK, South Carolina, North Carolina,
Alabama,
Washington, D.C., War Eagle. Just kidding, Corey. Alabama, Roll Tide, Oklahoma.
Oh, nice. Got to get a little
Rochester,
gift from the Devil's Advocates.
Euphoric. I have been waiting to see where you said that. Or if you've been putting them in the hive in the chat the last couple nights, I don't know that. Usually I try to finish DA with Euphoric. He'll throw out some out-of-pocket location, but we also EL Drew in the house. What's going on, dude? All right. So, DA, why don't you bring me up to speed? I think we should maybe start with talk about you're going to be going to the sentencing coming up.
I am. I'm going to the sentencing. In fact, I'm going to be leaving tomorrow night sometime. I don't know exactly when I'm going to be leaving, but I'm going to be leaving tomorrow night. And last time I showed up on the courthouse steps at 3 a.m, and that was okay. I'm trying to gauge. Do you think the sentencing, the change of plea is going to be bigger than the sentencing, or the sentencing? Because if the sentencing is bigger, I need to get there earlier, because I was at 3 a.m. and there was already people in line. I'm trying to
really
bigger than the change of plea or not? I don't know. But
you got there at 3 a.m. and there were people there already.
Yeah, the first person in line showed up at midnight. And again, it's all on the discretion of whether the court is going to allow it. They had sheriffs and stuff like that walking around and stuff like that. But, all the media was there. When I showed up at 3 o'clock in the morning, most of the media was already outside. So, yeah, I think I'm planning on showing up at midnight this time, maybe even 11 p.m. I don't know. The problem is they don't do you the solid of putting porta potties out there in line. So I don't, if you jump out of line and if they don't want to let you back in, you're just done. So I think I'll just pee right there.
Yeah, I've done that before.
Just like, hey,
yes,
if you're not going to hold my spot, hold my beer.
That's funny. How far of a drive is it for you?
About 3.5 hours for me.
3.5 hours. That's not
not too bad.
terrible.
No.
All right, Hive. Good news. I got everything all queued up. So if you guys have been in the Hive for a while, I am reusing this front page because the last couple of days, it's made me absolutely sick at the narrative that has been going on around this case. DA, how many times we heard that this was sexually motivated? How many times have we heard the serial killer? How many times we heard the DNA and the whole COTUS thing now being talked about, which I know we want to bring up this evening at some point. I can't take it anymore. And it's like I brought up the other night or last night on the stream. I posted a TikTok about how in James Patterson's book, it kind of alludes to how the girls never planned on going to the formal on Friday night and they were trolling. Right. So they just made it look like that. I thought that was really interesting. I have been crucified in the TikTok comments for just, and that's fine. TikTok, I'm convinced TikTok is a portal to hell as far as the bots armies. They have an entire TikTok bot army that I'm convinced they can, like, people can hire them.
Yeah.
Just to go after people. Sammy T got banned last night on TikTok, or she's like hanging on by the skin of her teeth. So,
yeah, I gave up on it a while ago, and I was just thinking about maybe trying it again. But I'm like, the more I hear, the more I'm like, and I feel like, you know, in the conspiracy mind, I feel like honestly, once the United States tried to force a sale of TikTok to the U.S. and didn't happen. They shut down the servers. They came back online after the U.S. put their own controls on the servers, and they've been ruining TikTok ever since and driving people away. I think they want people hate TikTok so much that they move to other platforms that are owned by the U.S. and that was their exit plan if they couldn't buy TikTok. But that's my conspiracy world thinking right there.
Yeah, I don't do much scrolling on TikTok. Most of the time, I'll go on there and check my messages, see if anybody sent it, or like whoever I follow, I'll go to that tabs, because all my entire For You page now is like, if you want to go viral on TikTok, or like, I just have, and it's the worst advice ever. It's like, you need to post 5 times a day for an entire year and all this stuff. And it's like, don't do that. You don't need to do that. And I agree. I totally agree. So, as far as the quick announcements that I have the finalists for the Hive Mind Roundtable picked out. And let me just move this up here quick so that I can get, I saw in the YouTube comments, sometimes the chat covers, or the screen covers the chat and makes it hard to read if you're watching on your television. So here is the lineup for this Sunday's Hive Mind Roundtable. DA, I didn't see your name in there. You didn't see I'm joking.
I don't. I figured you didn't want me on that. You already got me on a whole night every week.
No, I know. All right. Drum roll. For this. Oh, shoot. Now it's moved over too much. That's on me. Here we go. This is this upcoming Sunday, July 28th, 2025 at 7 p.m. Central. We're going to have Truth and Neurons. Robin the Redneck and Sherlock Romes are going to be the Hive Mind Roundtable. There was almost 30 people-ish, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less, that had requested to be in it. Please, just because you requested this time and you didn't get picked, every month I do this on the last Sunday of the month. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't keep applying, because everybody in here has very quality stuff to say, and I think it needs to be heard, hence why we started doing this. I always look forward to it each month. Last one was great. This one's going to be awesome. So I did email these 3 people. Assuming everything's still good to go, please respond to that email, you 3, when you have a chance. I do have an on deck person picked out as well. Is it really the 27th? Oh my God, it is the 27th. That's what I meant to say.
Got the wrong date.
And yeah, because remember, it was going to be my wedding anniversary. I am just absolutely cooking myself. First, I scheduled it on my wedding anniversary. Now I do it the wrong date on it. I'm cooked. I saw Mrs. Birdie in the chat say it's the 27th. So anyways, 27th on Sunday. These 3 will be on the roundtable. I'm looking forward to that. And then we got a busy week coming up here, Hive. We got the roundtable on the 27th. On Monday, the 28th, we got Scott Payne. As you all know, he went undercover inside of the Outlaws. I sent him over a handful of sample questions. We obviously have the thread in the Discord going. Please submit questions for that. I'm very much so looking forward to him talking with him. This is his book. You can get it on Amazon. I'm through the first chapter. And I'm very excited to finish that so that I can ask him about it and what his inspiration for that was. And then shout out to Devil's Advocates for bringing back Ali Benevento that next day on Tuesday, the 29th. So think about that, Hive. We're going to go Hive Mind Roundtable, Scott Payne, Ali Benevento. So we got a three-peat coming up. Ali Benevento also, as I was looking up her name on Google, she was selected to the 2025 South Carolina Super Lawyers List. It's an honor bestowed upon only the top 5% of lawyers in South Carolina. So we are lucky to have her in the Hive. And thank you, Devil's Advocate, for always hooking that up, man.
Yeah, you bet. Excited. Very
have
excited.
you guys have you two chatted at all about what the sentencing might look like, or give us a little teaser?
I mean, so Ali, I mean, I think I told, well, I can't remember who he told what anymore, but Ali Benevento has gotten really, really busy lately. She had a documentary that she did a special on, and somebody filmed her for a documentary about an inmate that she helped get a parole issue done, and it was a really big deal. So she had that grand opening, and then on top of that, she has a death sentence case that she's working on right now. So we haven't talked a lot, but it was funny because she sent me a message one day saying, I'm so excited to start diving into Kohberger now, because we have been talking Luigi Manjoni a lot. And then within an hour or so of her saying, I'm so excited to get into Kohberger, he changed his plea deal and said he was pleading guilty. And she sent me a message. She goes, well, shit, there goes that. And I was like, yeah, but this case is not over. So as we talked throughout this week, I told her, hey, look, I'm going to the sentencing. Would you be willing to come on and talk to Birdie and I on the show and talk about what we see at the sentencing? And I know there's going to be some follow-up questions about that. So yes, she's excited to talk about that. She's still looking into the Kohberger case, even though it's over. It's over in some people's minds. It's certainly not over in our minds. But yeah, she's getting boned up. She's excited to get into it. She doesn't know it as well as we do for sure, but she can answer all the legal questions we have. Like, do you think Kohberger was forced to take a plea deal? Do you think that was even a possibility? Do you think people plead guilty to things that they don't do? How often does that happen? And what is the process for appeals? Is there a way for him to get out? She'll answer all those from a legal perspective, which will be great for us.
As you were saying that, something that just popped in my head is that maybe it's good she doesn't have a super familiar background with it, and she's just talking strictly legal.
Yeah,
there's no bias in it. Not that lawyers are biased, but I don't know if she's able to come in and assess it just on paper without having the name Idaho 4 or Brian Kohberger affect any type of opinion.
It's funny because I get the impression from Ali she likes a good conspiracy theory as anybody. She really does. But I imagine for her, right? But I imagine for her it's got to be a little bit of a tricky thing, right? Because she's a professional in a law firm that has a professional reputation. So she's got to be careful. While she might personally enjoy a good conspiracy theory, they don't want to be like, Ali, oh my God, are you going on these shows and saying that you believe some kind of crazy ass thing that most people want? So I think it's a little delicate for her because she likes this stuff, but I think that she also has to make sure that she doesn't accept something absolutely crazy on our show and go, oh yeah, I think aliens came and abducted Kohberger and did the murder.
Yeah, no kidding, right? I agree with what you said too. I don't think this case is over at all, and I have a slide pulled up that everybody can probably guess a screenshot of what is on that slide. It rhymes with Ronald Stump and like what they talked about. But before that, DA, I started doing a question of the day. This one comes from our Discord from Crisis. And they asked, and obviously you're more than welcome to answer this. What is the number one thing on your bucket list, or what is your favorite completed bucket list event? You want to go first?
For me?
Yeah.
It's a small one for me, but I have never been on a cruise ship. So I've either wanted to do an Alaskan cruise to the Inside Passage, which I don't know is going to be as big of a deal as I thought it was, but I have never been on a big cruise line. It's one of the things that I said I'm going to do before I die. So it's a small thing, but that is on my bucket list. It's the first thing that popped in my head. So definitely want to do that. And my wife wants to go to a warmer climate. I want to do the mountain kind of stuff in the snow. So I'm cool with that.
Oh, that's kind of psychotic. If I'm going on a cruise, I want to go somewhere warm. I'm just kidding. But what's your favorite bucket list item you've checked off the list?
I really can't say. Well, I mean, in a way, I self-published, a couple of books, and I've always wanted to be a writer. That was my number one thing that I wanted to do. So I may not have gotten published by a publisher, but fucking I did it myself, and I checked off a book, and I feel good about it because like one of the books I wrote was like 400 and something pages long,
Wow.
and I'm like, that's no joke. Like that's a legit book, and it's good, and I'm proud of it. So I think that was my bucket list thing that I've checked off.
I still actually have the first. So my book was 47 pages. I still have from my editor the one that I got bound from FedEx, and it's got all of the notes in it still. I keep it next to my desk. So
That's awesome.
I recently published The Tall Poppy. It's available on Amazon. It's
Cool.
not a conspiracy book. It's more so just about being the best version of yourself, and you shouldn't be afraid to do it based on what people are going to think of you.
Yeah.
And when you said cruises, have you ever seen the documentary What Happened to Amy Bradley?
No.
Oh, you and the wife got to watch that one of these nights. It's on Netflix.
Okay.
It's about a woman who goes missing off of a cruise liner, and they assume she either committed suicide, she got killed, but they can't find her on the ship. And like 6 months later, somebody comes face to face with her and recognizes her, and they think that she's been being trafficked for the last handful of years, like 20 years now.
Holy crap.
There's like 3 or 4 sightings, dude. There's sightings of like this dude was in the Navy, and apparently she was in a brothel, and he didn't want to get in trouble because she had said, "You need to help me. My name is Amy. I'm blah, 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 blah." But because he's in the Navy and he's at port, he didn't want to say, "Hey, I'm at an illegal bar here." And so he didn't say anything for 3 years, dude.
I'm all over that.
Yeah.
I'm all over that. I will watch that.
For me to quick answer this, number one thing on my bucket list is I'd really like to build up a business as I'm grinding with my liquor company, and then either have it turn into, a full-blown company or exit it. Like I've been grinding at that. I've been really working hard at that. So
you mean exit it as maybe selling it off and going to do something else? Yeah.
Yeah. Or staying a part of like the board if it gets big enough.
Yeah.
So that's been my big project that I've been working on. The favorite completed bucket list item, I would say so far, I won a national championship in college for football.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nice.
Pretty cool. And I'm in. I always make the joke though, like I'm in the College Football Hall of Fame, but not for athletics. You had to be a 3-year starter and then have a 3.85 cumulative GPA for those 3 years.
Yeah.
So it's called the National Hampshire Honor Society. So I could say I'm in the College Football Hall of Fame, but it's really just academic. It's like student athlete thing. So
But you played though, right?
Yeah.
What'd you play? What position?
I was a meathead DA. I was an outside linebacker. And
Yeah.
You wouldn't know it. I think I have a picture. You know what? I'm gonna hold this up to the camera because it's hilarious. I used to right now I weigh like 195.
Uh-huh.
What do you think my playing weight was? And I wasn't like fat, but what do you think my playing weight was?
220. Oh wow, 240. Is it could have been 240?
237, bro.
237.
That was like I said, I drank a half.
You were like, whoop, whoop, I'm coming for you, quarterback.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I drank a half gallon of chocolate milk every night from our cafeteria. It was called P Street. I drank a half gallon of chocolate milk every single night. And I'm pretty sure it was like vitamin D whole chocolate milk. I put on, I think 21 pounds in a month because I had transferred in and I was too light. But Hang on. Here's the picture. I hope you guys will be able to see it. I had some flow too.
Yeah. You don't look heavy there. You don't look heavy there at all, really.
No, I never wore it bad, but I just
Yeah.
Just
So it was muscle. It wasn't a flabalanche.
Yeah, exactly. But then when I got done playing, and sorry, I'll get back to this, but when I got done playing, I actually was one of the like lucky ones where the weight just fell off me because I would eat till it hurt every night because I would lose so much weight during camp and then throughout the season, and I had to work to weigh more.
Wow.
So, anyways, yeah, I played linebacker, Nick. So I would say that's probably the biggest one that I had checked off my bucket list. Now, everybody's been talking about this. I obviously put this air quote in there. I tried to find a picture of what looked like Trump running after Brian, but it says, admit you didn't do it. And when I read this, and if you haven't seen this, was this Truth Social or X?
Yes. Yeah. So Truth Social. Yeah.
He says, so President Trump said, Brian Koberger, who was responsible in Idaho for the deaths of 4 wonderful young souls, has made a plea bargain deal in order to avoid the death penalty. These were vicious murders with so many questions left unanswered. While life imprisonment is tough, it's certainly better than receiving the death penalty. But before sentencing, I hope the judge makes Koberger, at a minimum, explain why he did these horrible murders. There are no explanations. There is nothing. People were shocked that he was able to plea bargain, but the judge should make him explain what happened. Thank you for your attention to this matter. I don't know if I'm the only person that feels this way. That is it seems like an odd temperament.
Yeah, it's funny. I think you're hitting on the same thing I did. So many people are acting like, oh, there's Trump going after him like everybody else. I'm like, no, look at this. Trump said, where's the fucking answers? Where are the answers? There is nothing. We should know by now what exactly he did. That's how I took that. And I think you did too, right? He puts an all cap. There's nothing. How do we not know what he did? I would almost say, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I would almost say Trump's going to like, hey, I'm not sure he took a plea. He did it.
That's how I took it too.
If we don't know what the hell he did. How do we know his plea is good?
That's exactly how I took it too, especially with these were vicious murders with so many questions left unanswered.
Yeah.
And then while life imprisonment is tough, it's certainly better than receiving the death penalty. It's almost like he's like, I know that you took this plea deal to avoid the death penalty.
Yeah.
And look, I feel like same thing with the Idaho 4 case, where when people who think Brian's guilty, they hear Idaho 4, they hear Brian, they say something, maybe he didn't do it, the blinders go on. I think there's obviously a very similar temperament towards President Trump, but this is something that we've all looked into. And while I don't know, it doesn't read like he's going to go slam the cell door on him. It reads like he's like, I want to know what happened here.
I got a theory, and I think Trump watches Birdie and Devil's Advocates, and he's like, those motherfuckers are onto something. There's some unanswered questions here. And so he went out there and said, how come we don't have answers to this?
You know what, President Trump, you're welcome in the hive. I'd love to ask you a few questions. Where's the Epstein list?
I got to quit dropping the F-bombs too. I've gotten foul in the last week or so here. Everybody's getting my blood pressure up. So.
Yeah. But it's good. This is a good conversation to have, because now if you've ever seen like behind, I've only ever seen this just on like X or Twitter, but like behind the scenes, I've seen, quick clips of how Donald Trump has some chick sitting next to him and he's just talking and that person's typing the tweet. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
I don't think he's really texting. Right. He's got somebody that's his assistant that writes it.
Sure.
But I could just see him like sitting there like watching this, and he's like, I mean, I don't know if he'd get briefed on it, but if the feds were involved, because you got to remember, Pam Bondi did talk about the Sinaloa cartel going down in Eugene, Oregon.
Yeah.
That's on that same Pacific Northwest highway.
Yeah, I think, to be honest with you, I doubt, Trump spends a lot of time, watching YouTubers, but I bet you someone in his inner circle has probably said something to Trump like this: man, there's a lot of unanswered questions in this case. This is a crazy case. You wouldn't believe it, what's going on out there. And people want answers. And so if anybody just even said that, Trump would be like, really? Like, this isn't an open and shut case? And they're like, no, man, it's not an open and shut case. Like, there's more. And so he goes out and puts out there, why don't we have the answers? Like, I don't know that how much he's dug into it, but I wouldn't be a surprise that someone close to him is advising him, look, there's a lot of people in America who don't think this is a straight up deal, that we don't have the answers. We need to have the answers. Why didn't he tell us where the weapon is? Why didn't he tell us something, anything? Tell us anything that only the killer could have known, so that we know it had to have been you. Just give us one thing that only the killer could have known. And that would be helpful, but we got nothing.
Maybe Barron is watching it.
Yeah,
wasn't
maybe.
Barron the dude that was like, the whole podcast approach? I could have swore I heard something like that. But
yeah,
I want to talk about this super chat. Thank you so much. Don't be hating for the super chat. They said, I just posted on X questioning the Idaho 4 narrative implying Fed op, and it was the first time I was ever flagged as a violation due to X rules. No bad language. I'm scared. This is so big. We won't get answers. Wow. That is interesting, because I've seen some wild shit on X. I've also seen some wild shit on Reddit. And so Koberger's survey is like, oh my God. I'm like, there is some messed up shit on the internet, everybody, especially on those two sites. You guys could probably pick up what I'm putting down there. And you can't have a survey, or you can't say that this is a federal operation.
Yeah.
That's odd. And then speaking of X, we were joking around last night with Sammy T Mafia and Phoenix Talks were up here, and I had asked them in the Hive, what is the biggest plot twist, the most unexpected plot twist that could come out of the sentencing hearing? And a couple of the ones that I want to highlight from the YouTube comments were, he proposes to Ann Taylor. He becomes a spokesman for the Elantra car line. The one that me and Sammy kind of joined up on was the Morgan Wallen or the UFC walkouts where somebody's carrying a boombox behind them. It's Elon Musk with a t-shirt that says Neuralink will fix wrongful convictions or something. I don't know. What do you think could be actually like a real life plot twist, a reasonable one outside of exoneration or switching a plea? Anything you could see coming out of left field?
Yeah, the two biggest shocks will be, and again, that doesn't mean it's going to happen, but the two biggest shocks I would see that are legitimate options are a change of plea, which I don't think that's going to happen, but that would be a shocker, and that would disturb. And again, if he did change his plea at the last minute, it wouldn't go well for him and his because they'd be like, why'd you string all the families along and make everybody go out to Boise and then tell them at the last second, hey, I changed my mind. Like it would do so bad on his next go around. But anyways, that would be one. But honestly, the one that I'm worried about the most is someone is going to jump the bar and go to try to choke him out or something like that, or do some kind of act of violence on the courthouse steps to somebody that to just take out their anger, because there are people who feel like that man needed to be killed, not just put in, not be, as some would say, not be given 3 hots in a cot and be able to cruise out the rest of his life living a full life when he should be dead. And so I'm afraid, as the emotions get spun up in that courtroom, that the most likely thing is going to happen is somebody's going to jump the wall and try to get at him, and then it's going to be freaking chaos in that courtroom. But
I want to ask a question. I don't know if you have the answer to it. To that point, why is it in society, and I guess we can only speak about America, but I'm sure this goes on all over the world, but what is it about society and certain issues that the news seems to just be able to dial in on? This case being one of them. They know which nerve to strike to cause division. And I'm curious, in this case, what is the reason for the division? Is it because he's creepy and he's a guy? Is it because they've just plastered his face out there? I can't seem to put my finger on what is the nerve that they struck, because on paper, if you look at it without a name on it, we've gone over this a million times. I don't know if you get a conviction.
yeah.
What do you think it is?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, it has, the case had the elements to grab national attention with the college students, young kids, and I hate to use the word like Howard Bloom, that pretty people, they were so beautiful and had their life ahead of them. So it gave all of the elements that the news likes, which is pretty young people who, were viciously murdered. And it's they love mass shootings. They love mass murder in the media in general. But, I don't know this. I think as it gained traction, I think is what happened. In the early stages, they didn't know what they had. And as it gained traction, the unprecedented gag order, by the way, did no justice to anybody. It just left room for conspiracies to fly, which made it a more interesting story. I guess in a way, you could almost say that was part of the plan, right? Is they gagged the thing, and then we can have a whole bunch of shit to talk about for 2.5 years because nobody's allowed to talk about it. We can just make up shit on the fly, but I don't know.
Yeah, well, the thing that I seem to see the most is you're being disrespectful to talk about this.
Yeah.
You stop grifting, stop this. And I'm always confused because why is it that I would argue, and there's no disrespect, I'm not disrespecting myself, I'm not disrespecting the Hive or you, DA. People in the whole scope of media, no real pull when it comes to the masses.
Yeah.
We get destroyed by those people. Yet the news isn't even speculating. They're not investigating. They're not being journalists.
Right.
And they seem to get the pass. That nerve, whatever that is it lack of authority? Is it the how dare you think freely? I don't know. But that seems to be one of the nerves.
Well, I feel, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I feel like mainstream media has been proven to be losing ground. I mean, more people watch some YouTubers than CNN's broadcasts or Fox broadcasts. Joe Rogan has a way bigger audience than CNN on any of their things. And so they're losing to social media. And so it seems that their tactic is, let's say, social media, and let's shame them all the time and say they're not real journalists. They need to stay in their own lane, which is just crazy conspiracy theories. Nobody should take them seriously. If you want the truth, you should come to a real media source like CNN, ABC, NBC, whatever the case may be. And I think they're losing their ass, and I think they're afraid. And so the tactic is to basically name, call, shame, ridicule, and try to humiliate your competition, because we're their competition now.
We are their competition now as a whole, and the masses, yes. But it seems like it's even the people that consume the mainstream. And I'm sure there's people in here. I don't know the last time that I had a mainstream news on my television. The only time that I've seen anything is when I'm doing this stream and we're watching a clip. And most times, every time, I've only seen that because of social media and somebody else posting it. And then I'll watch it.
Yeah.
If you haven't broken free of the mainstream news, I'm curious if it's habit, like comfort of this is my routine at night, or I don't know, because it can't be for news anymore at this point, right? You can maybe get general updates of what's going on in the world, but it seems like unless you have the ability to internally filter, you're not really getting much other than a headline.
Yeah.
Sensationalized headlines is a nerve too that they've hit on with here. But anyways, that was just a little question that I had. I wanted to get into the COTUS stuff, DA.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about that? Because there seems to be a little bit of confusion as if this is like newer drama about it. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if it's anything that crazy.
Well, here's the thing. So the reason why, I did an hour-long rant, as I often do rants, on the Ashley Banfield, Steve Gonzalez interview, in which one of the things, and it happened very, very fast, and I lost my shit on it, and because I felt like, am I missing something? Like, for 2.5 years. So here's what he said. He said in passing very quickly, we knew in the very early stages of this about the knife sheath, the DNA, and the COTUS hit. And I about lost my shit. I said, what the fuck do you mean, Steve Gonzalez, the COTUS hit? There was no COTUS hit, because the whole reason why they had to go to Othram Labs to develop BK's profile, which Othram couldn't do it, then they had to give it to the federal government, FBI, to develop it to get Brian Kohberger, is because there was no COTUS hit. He wasn't in COTUS because Brian Kohberger didn't have a criminal record. So when he said we knew about the knife sheath, the DNA, and the COTUS hit, I was like, I paused. I was like, what do you mean COTUS hit? We've been told over and over again, nothing came up in COTUS. It was not a hit. So I still don't have the answer. And then I heard recently, Lana from Truth and Transparency was raging about the COTUS hit. And she's like, where did the COTUS hit come from? Nobody's talking about this. I'm like, I'm talking about it. Like, how the fuck do you say, I got to quit dropping the F-bomb. I'm working on this. Anyways, how do you say there's a COTUS hit? The first story we've heard, and the story we've heard for 2.5 years, is there was no COTUS hit. Brian Kohberger wasn't in COTUS. That's why they didn't know who Brian Kohberger was until December 19th, which came in as a tip from the FBI because he didn't hit. There was no hit in COTUS. So it does lead for this question. If somebody did hit, it wasn't Brian Kohberger. So now I want to know who it was. Or there's one other thing, and I'll get off the rant. One other thing, which is that Brian Kohberger did hit in COTUS, but they couldn't tell you about it because COTUS wasn't in there as a criminal. He was in there because he's known by the FBI already, and they had him already in their database, and they didn't want to say, oh, we know it's Brian Kohberger. He hit in COTUS, but we can't tell you why he hit because he wasn't a criminal. And that's a big shit.
Exactly. Because when you really start to think about how when you really start to think about too, like what does the COTUS hit really do to the rest of the case, right? It would change everything. I believe it would change everything. Either they would continue to keep it under wraps and they'd lie about it, and then it'd be very easy for him to prove that they're withholding evidence. Or if they got a COTUS hit and he came back and they were aware of him, or he's working for them, some sort of CI, I don't know if you could even apply for an internship without giving your prints before.
Right.
On even the most simple level. Now, wasn't there something with COTUS, and if you said this and I missed it, I apologize. Wasn't there something with COTUS where they couldn't resubmit it because it would mess up?
So, yes. So what happened was, from what my memory was, Ann Taylor hit the question, why, when you knew there was unknown blood from unknown male B on a banister inside the house, and you knew there was unknown male blood D, as in dog, in a glove outside the house, why didn't you test those? And the answer was twofold. One, we already knew it was Brian Kohberger because we had his DNA on the knife sheath, so there was no need to test any other blood, which is the biggest horseshit answer I've ever heard. And then number two was, well, we were afraid because we thought that by submitting a different sample into COTUS, it would ruin the hit that we had. And so we thought it was kind of like a one and done thing. Since we already had submitted to COTUS, we thought submitting another DNA to COTUS would ruin the COTUS hit that we've got. And I'm like, none of that makes sense. So the idea was that they didn't want to multiple submit to COTUS, so they didn't submit the names. And the other one was, well, we already knew who it was because we had Brian Kohberger's name. So none of that makes sense. I can't explain it to you because it doesn't make sense at all what they said.
So what was your point with Lotta? It was that she wasn't aware of it, or?
No. I mean, the only thing with Lana, and I have no beef with Lana. I don't really watch Lana's show. Someone who watches me a lot felt offended for me because they're like, DA, I heard you rant about the COTUS thing long before Lana, and Lana says that she's the first person to discover this idea that they had a COTUS hit and that she's going to break it wide open and no one else is talking about it. And she goes, I just want you to know, DA, I know you talked about it long before she did. And I'm like, I was hesitant to say anything because I don't give a shit who got there first, and I don't. That's what they were like. You really should say something because she's making it look like she just came up with this theory by herself, and maybe she did. Like, that's the thing. Like, all of us look at this stuff. Just because I saw something and you saw something doesn't mean that if one of us beat the other that they stole it from the other person. Sometimes we'd see stuff, right? So it wasn't a big deal. And the only reason I brought it up about Lana was just because somebody specifically said, hey, Lana's trying to act like nobody's talking about it, and you've already been talking about it. And again, at the end of the day, I don't really care who got there first or if it's right, so.
Well, and I think that's something too that I've really echoed on my stream, where if I plan on making a point and somebody has really good content about that point. I have no problem showing their video, giving them credit for it, putting it up on the screen. I would enjoy it if somebody did that for the Hive, right? If they were going to talk about it. So this is, take this with a grain of salt, but this person on X, I just looked up COTUS, and this was one of the COTUS and Brian Koberger, and this came up. I clicked between a Reddit thing and then X, but it says that uploading another profile would replace the first is what the confusion was.
Yes.
There's a transcript that shows an investigator saying they hesitated to upload an additional unknown male profile because their understanding was that doing so would bump the Sheath profile from COTUS. It's that procedural quirk viral clip is what's circulating and getting spun into quote unquote the secret COTUS hit. The transcript does not say there was a hit tying Koberger to COTUS. It just reflects management decisions about limited slots and prioritization. See, I read that, and part of me says, well, that's logical. But then another part of me is like, that's exactly what they would say.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't
Right.
know.
Right.
Hive, what do you guys think about the COTUS hit? Do you think it was a secret COTUS hit? Or do you think it was more of the procedural management around it? Type of 1, if you think it was secret. Type of 2. Vern
And here,
that's not how.
and here's the
COTUS
problem.
works.
The problem, while people are answering, the problem is the word COTUS hit. It's not like what that user made it. What I heard when you read that user's comment was they submitted Brian Koberger's DNA to COTUS, and then they were afraid to submit something else because it would wipe out the profile that they submitted of Brian Koberger.
Yes,
That's not a hit. That's not
Right.
a hit. A hit means you submitted to something to COTUS and it said, bing, we know who this is. They're in our database. Saying you have a COTUS hit means that when you submitted the DNA, you got a name back. And they said there was no hit in COTUS. That's the whole problem.
So this isn't really breaking news. Is it?
No,
Yeah.
it's not. It's not breaking news. I only said it was like a momentary thing that we should talk about. Maybe is the COTUS hit. No, it's not. It's breaking news in the sense that it's breaking news in the sense that Steve Gonzalez said we knew early on, and he put it in this order. We knew early on about the knife sheath, the DNA, and the COTUS hit. Putting those 3 things together in that order that quickly bothers me because, again, COTUS hit my ass. You told us for 2.5 years Brian Koberger didn't hit in COTUS. There was no profile for COTUS. He wasn't in the system of COTUS. So there's only 2 answers to that. They did have a hit and it wasn't Brian Koberger. That's a problem. Or it was a hit and it was Brian Koberger and they couldn't tell us why it was Brian Koberger. That's also a problem. So I've got a problem with him saying there was a COTUS hit early on.
Yes. And Blue Eyed Candy, I actually have that queued up here, but I want to finish a point. So thank you so much for the super chat. I got to tell you guys, I love seeing the super chats come in because I know that people are wanting to ask a question. They want to support the stream. It came up on TikTok again. Somebody messaged me saying that, hey, they just got a fake profile, same description, same username, like it said thinking different, hits different, except it had like 13 followers asking for money for the stream. It's not me.
Wow.
So that's like the second or
God
third
dang
time now on TikTok that's happened. So I would feel terrible if anybody gets scammed out of that. It's not me. I'll never ask for it. Just to clarify, not on Discord, not on TikTok, not on YouTube. I know it's only been a handful of times, but I just want to nip that in the ass right away because, like I said, I'd feel terrible because somebody thinks that I have, Nigerian prince bloodlines in me and I need help moving money from one account to the other or whatever that scam is. If you guys have ever heard that, have you seen that one, DA?
No.
It's like there's a prince who needs help transferring money.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, right. Yes, I have seen that. The Nigerian scam primarily. Yeah.
But thank you to everybody who does do the super chats. That is very kind of you, and I appreciate it. Now, real quick, just the last thing on the COTUS thing. I just looked up, could there be a post-plea COTUS entry?
Hmm.
And after conviction, the offender DNA is typically collected and uploaded. That would create an administrative match retroactively, meaning the crime scene versus the offender. But that's not obviously how they found him. It's not new evidence.
Right.
But that is a part of the Idaho offender upload practice. See Idaho State Police DNA database guidance.
Right. I mean, COTUS, from what I understand, is a database of criminals and people who are related to criminal activity. And so now Koberger is in COTUS for sure. He wasn't supposedly at the time that they went looking to see whose DNA was on the knife sheet, but he's certainly in COTUS now. But yeah. Right.
So to Blue Eyed Candy's point, I have not watched this, but I got sent this a ton in the inbox. Have you seen it? Somebody said, they said, hey, Birdie, I don't know how to clip things to sum it up for you, but the helpful advice I do have is to scroll to the last 5 or so minutes of this interview. It's very quite interesting what they say at the end. So that's what I did. It's a 55-minute interview. You cool with watching 5 minutes of it, DA?
Yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm.
All right. So I'll start it here.
And I think my dad and I buried our heads in the sand a little bit to the emotional side of it by just digging as deep as we could into, the legal side of it. And, I guess it is what it is. We will have to face this.
I'm going to go back a little bit more because I kind of want to hear what Brian Enton had asked her for that. Unless she's talking for a while.
Be gentle with myself. Take it and different in some. I think that his grief and his emotions in general manifest a little more as like anger. I think that that's his defense mechanism. Where I think mine is more, avoidance, no contact, kind of, switched on the emotions. But yeah, I think that all of the families still have, maybe a ways to go. Some, of course, us, maybe more than others. Maybe that just is because we're not very well-rounded or, because we lived in that denial for so long. I don't really know, but yeah, I don't really know if I answered your question either.
No, you did. I think you've just been so focused on the fight.
Yeah. And I think my dad and I buried our heads in the sand a little bit to the emotional side of it by just digging as deep as we could into, the legal side of it. And, I guess it is what it is. We will have to face this and, we'll do it. We'll do it together. We'll do it with our family. Yeah, I have a long way to go for sure.
You mentioned getting the full story from the prosecution after the sentencing. I mean, do you want to sit down with them and hear everything they know? Yeah,
I think that that's, something that we've been told from the very, very, very beginning before an arrest was even made. We'll sit down at the end of this and, we'll be able to talk candidly and say XYZ, blah, 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 blah. So I think that that's something that we're obviously very eager for, to the point where if the gag order is lifted on the 17th tomorrow, I've already reset a meeting that I said is cancelable if it doesn't happen. Because, I think it's important. I think that, a lot of cases are based off of circumstantial evidence, and that doesn't make them bad or weak cases. This particular.
I don't want to go all in on this one, but see, like that's the type of comment where whether I'm watching a YouTube video or I'm sitting up north around a campfire, I can't just let that go.
Right.
That'll send me. I'm calming myself.
I think that you know, a lot of cases are based off of circumstantial evidence, and that doesn't make them bad or weak cases.
It should.
This particular situation had, I don't know, physical evidence with the DNA being left at the scene, but I know there is so much circumstantial evidence that exists that didn't make its way to the, you know, to the public docs. And it just goes back to that, you know, almost like that grief where it's like, I don't know exactly what's going to hit me the hardest, right? Sometimes I'm totally fine. And, you know, when Kaylee's death certificate came in, you know, I, you know, trudged through, you know, I was okay. Like, obviously you have emotions around it, but I was able to put those to the side. But when that PCA came out, I was down for days. And obviously you don't expect that. That should have been, oh my gosh, there's a solid case here. They have someone in custody, you know, he's being extradited. And I feel that way about the evidence. And I feel so strongly about it in making my victim impact statement, because I feel almost cheated in a way to not have this information, because I'm like, you're setting me up to have so many regrets. Because right now I think that, you know, this of the information really, really hurt me.
What?
Well, I mean, she inadvertently, I don't know if she's even inadvertently. Think about this. If a family member has reservations that they're not really having all the facts, and Steve Gonzalez has said this over and over again, before we get up there and make a victim impact statement, we want to know what actually happened, because we don't want to make a mistake. They will feel like jackasses if they say all these horrible things he did, and then they come out later and they're like, yeah, he didn't do it. And they're like, you fucking made us go on in front of America saying he's the biggest piece of shit in the face of the planet because we believed you. You told us he was the killer, but you wouldn't tell us anything about it. So we went all balls in and said, yeah, he's a piece of shit and should rot in hell. And now we find out maybe he didn't do it, and you made me look like an idiot in front of national TV.
Wow. You know, it's been brought up that, and I think Sammy T has brought it up, Phoenix has brought it up, a lot of people in the Hive have brought it up. I don't think the Gonzalez's are a dumb family at all. I think Steve G knows what he's doing. While he may be getting bad intel or leaked wrong intel, who knows who's giving him it. I will say, like, even here, like what Chrissy had said in the chat, she's well-spoken. She's calculated in this. It seems it maybe some people, I could see the people in the Hive that have said it comes off a little disingenuous, but I could also see the people who are saying it comes off calculated, right? And to that point you just made, DA, that would be the cherry on top. If you just got thrown into shark-infested waters with this case, and then you go up there, you let somebody have it in front of America, and that person didn't do it.
And that's what I feel like she's saying. She's like, I want to know before I get up there and give it to him with both barrels.
It does sound like
that this is the guy, and you can't give me anything. So now I have to feel like, do I hold back because I don't want to look like a jackass in front of everybody if it turns out he didn't do it, or you know, it's like you can hear they even still have questions. This whole thing is a shit sandwich and is not respectful to the families. And yet we'll get kicked in the teeth saying we're being disrespectful to the families for continuing to ask questions. Sounds to me like the families have questioned themselves, and they're like, I don't want to get up there and shit all over this guy if we don't have the right story.
This might be a stretch, but I'm not even joking you when I say this. Do you think that they raised this up to the White House to try to bring attention to it?
Could be.
I don't know what other person, unless you're a victim's family member, if it came organically bubbled up. I know Trump's all over social media, but do you really think that his team would brief him on a quadruple homicide? I mean, there's probably a lot of people that take plea deals to avoid the death penalty. Actually, we know that's the case. We've looked up the statistics about it. Yeah. So why this one? Why?
Because I think it has massive discernment. I think this case has massive national attention, and the media is trying to spin it like the people who have questions are just a small fringe of crazy YouTubers and TikTokers that no one takes seriously. And I think it's bigger than that. And I think Trump knows that. I think mainstream media knows that. They're trying to shape the narrative to say only crazy people have questions about this case. It's a done deal. And it's way bigger than that. And again, mainstream media is trying to control the narrative to make it sound like everyone in America knows he's guilty. So why are these crazy YouTubers still acting like he's not? And it's bigger than they think.
Yeah, we're crazy. we're insane. We
Yeah.
want the truth, DA. That's all we want, baby.
I know.
Nothing but the truth. So help me God.
And I get so mad. I try not to get mad, but I got so mad. Like somebody just recently was like, I don't understand, devil's advocates, why you're such a piece of shit that you want a murderer to go free. And I'm like, you clearly don't watch my show. I give zero fucks. I got to stop the F-bombs. I give zero crap whether Koberger did or didn't do it. I just want the truth. And I want the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help me God. I want to know everything that happened so that we don't have any questions. And you somehow think I'm a piece of shit because the story doesn't make sense. The story is horseshit. Like, you know it's horseshit. Why are you busting my nuts? Because I want the story to be real. I want the story to be true. I don't care who did it. Be the right story and make sure that we know so we can go to bed at night that it was the right story. We'll all be happy no matter what the story is if it's the right story. Just tell us the story.
And I've said from the beginning that as soon as you start hearing the mainstream media talking about fringe YouTube conspiracies or Reddit online rumors, we are your trusted source of truth. It's like, look, people, we all have brains too and can think for ourselves. We're not just reading a teleprompter because we have big investors and numbers and we want views on or whatever the ratings are. We do it because we look into it, we see something, we think something, and then we're going to spread it to the internet. And I pointed this out. I don't know if it was when you were on the stream last. If it was, I apologize. But for the people who didn't hear that, I thought it was so weird in the Amazon series, the most recent one, how they made it such a point in the second or third part of it, how they just destroyed anybody online. Actually, Sammy T. Mafia was in the documentary. And they used a clip. She didn't get destroyed. I thought she made a great point for the clip they chose. And they made it all about the social media stuff. I started thinking that anger, and they're like, it's been really rough. I've deleted all my social media. Okay. Let's look at the fact of the matter. You are either friends or you're seen on camera with the victims the night of the murders.
Right.
And that footage is public and being pushed out to the world by the big news corporations. And you have the police department that doesn't give a press conference for 4 days. And when they do, it's nothing.
Yeah.
They don't even say the victims' names right.
Yeah.
So that you're not stopping the internet machine after that. I don't think you are, at least.
No, they didn't do their job, so somebody else had to. That's what it comes down to. They won't do their job, so somebody else has to. And then they're going to shame you if we get some details wrong every once in a while. But at least, here's the thing. People forget mainstream media makes mistakes all the time. They make mistakes and say things incorrectly all the time. But if a YouTuber does it, they're like, see, you can't trust those YouTube people. They make mistakes. And like, mainstream media makes mistakes all the time. They correct things all the time that they're like, oops, we made a mistake. We shouldn't have said this or we shouldn't have said that. They know they make mistakes, but they want to bust the nuts of YouTubers for making mistakes, because somehow they get it right every time. Anyways, it's off.
Do you like the movie Anchorman?
Yes.
When they all go to fight and they're like, just don't touch the hair. No hair. No hair. That's like, I can't see news anchors any other way.
Right.
All right, I'm going to keep playing this because right now it's 4 minutes left.
Like the fact that he also bought a sharpener, right? And that to some people isn't anything, right? And I understand that. But to me, that shit hurts my soul, right? So it's like, how many other little things like that exist that can help give me a more complete view of my impact that I can then articulate into words? Because I've had so many regrets this whole process, right? I mean, so many. But I didn't want to do it this time. I didn't want to have regrets, and I didn't want to, feel like I left any cards behind. I'm not holding any punches here. So it's hard to do that when, I don't even have a full hand that I'm playing with. Like, you guys are playing poker and I'm playing Uno.
This is the thing. I hope to God multiple family members, or at least one, just one, calls out Hitler on the stand and says, shame on you for not letting us know what really happened. You told us all along you were going to tell us, and you were going to have full disclosure. We'd have no question. And here we are reading victim impact statements, and we still don't know what happened in this case. Shame on you. That you make me have to come up here and read this, not knowing what really happened, because you won't let it be out there.
And I don't understand if this is a legitimate case, and this is really, I don't want to go there because I think that it kind of bothers me even mentally to go to that place, because God forbid anybody's ever in this situation. And I know I wasn't there, and I know I'm not going through it, but I think the majority of people have experienced a traumatic loss or death in their life, whether it's natural or it's not. We understand people grieve differently. I can't imagine if, for example, looking at my father who passed of cancer, if I don't know that he's sick with cancer, I just know something's not right, but the doctor knows, and they're sealing all of his medical records, and I'm not able to see it, and then you know what I mean? Like, you can almost apply that same shift of, am I really just going to accept this as the answer as to what he was sick with? I know it's not being violently murdered, but you get my point. I don't know how people can wrap their head around it and say, you weren't there, you weren't the family. And I wanted to snap back and say, would this be good enough for you? And really lay out all the evidence. You know?
Yeah.
I'm going to do my best, but I damn well know when it all comes out and when I hear it, it's going to be the smallest damn thing that I'm like, I wish I would have confronted him with that. But we've tried. We're still trying. I won't give up until there's no other option. But it's not looking good. It's not looking like we're going to have any more information than we do right now.
Yeah, I guess I always thought about the gag order with, like, in terms of the press getting information, but I sort of forgot that it's also the way that you guys can find out the details too, because the gag order has also applied to you.
Yes. So we aren't covered by the gag order, but the people who know the information are covered by the gag order from talking to us even.
Yeah.
Wait, what was that?
So the families,
Oops. Go ahead.
the families have a constitutional right to talk about whatever the fuck they want to talk about. That's their right to talk about it. What she's saying is they're not gagged. The families aren't gagged from talking about the case. But who's gagged is everybody who knows things, the prosecution, law enforcement, everybody who actually has information that they could share with the families is gagged from talking to the families. So they can run their mouth all day long, a la Steve Gonzalez, about what he thinks happening in the case, because we can't stop him. He has a constitutional right to talk about it all he wants. But the people who know have been gagged from talking to the families and giving them good information.
And you look at what Sammy T just said, for propagandists hired by government to tell lies in order to, quote unquote, protect America. Yet the implication is that our government and way of life have a monopoly on truth. It's a characteristic of a totalitarian state. And that's so well said, because while we're divided on so many things, if you can divide people on what is the truth, that might be the ace up your sleeve that people wouldn't expect, right? If you can get people to not know what is true, what is up, what is down, do we live on a globe? Do we live on a flat earth? Are there, giants? Who knows? If you really have that, you've won. Nobody knows the truth except a handful of bloodlines.
Yeah.
And you can say that's a conspiracy, but that's not. I don't think that again is my opinion. That's my truth. Okay. that there's 13 bloodlines. Oops.
By the gag order, but the people who know the information are covered by the gag order from talking to us even.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we've heard bits and pieces, right? You know, people come to us and say, you know, this, that, blah, 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 blah. And of course, we're appreciative for that. They help put a bigger view, but you can't trust that information all the time, because sometimes it's false, you know, and it's not someone's fault that it's false. But it would just be nice to walk in just so confident, just so knowledged, and be able to feel like in that moment, what I'm saying right now, what I'm doing right now is the very, very best that I have to offer. No excuses, no, oh, well, I wish this or I wish that, you know, I love to make excuses for myself. So to be able to like remove that option, to just be like, no, like you're gonna write, you know, sit down and you're going to write this, and this is the best that you can give. No, well, if I'd had that, or if I, period. Would have been nice. And the dream's not dead, but she's on life support.
Well, thank you so much for talking to me, Olivia. I mean, I know it's not easy to talk about, and I'm honored that you were so open with your emotions and just everything that you and your family have been through. And I'll see you at the sentencing, and it's been a privilege to get to know you and your dad and your mom, because you, like I said, you really are incredible people. I mean, you really are, like, just amazing.
Thanks, Brian.
What can I do to get in with the G's more? I'll just completely love bomber.
It honestly, it hurts my soul on a deep level that the families are admitting to us that they still don't know what happened. I assumed that they knew what happened, but they just weren't talking about it because they were working with law enforcement and keeping their mouth shut, and they knew that this was going to come out and whatever. And for them to say, I can't even write my victim impact statement because I'm not sure what happened. It disgusts me. It disgusts me. How? Because they're going to get up there and they're just going to, and Steve Gonzalez said they want to say things correctly when they get up there. But how can they say things correctly when they don't know what happened? How do they still not know what happened?
I don't know.
How is this even possible for them not to know what happened? And so what can their victim impact statements mean? I was hoping that somebody would get up there and tell me in a bomb, by the way, I know you did this to my daughter or my sister because I saw this with my own two eyes. And I'll be like, oh, but you know what I'm finding out? They didn't know anything. They know nothing more than we know, which is Jack and then shit. That's what they know. They know Jack and shit. And we knew that from 2.5 years ago. Welcome to getting caught up. You know the same thing we know.
Yeah. Hell of an analogy to say the dream's on life support too, and then kind of smirk. I'll go back and listen to that. I think, look, Hive, I understand what she meant. I get it. She's using it as an analogy. It's just a hell of an analogy to use. And I get that everyone's picking apart every word. You guys saw the Hive. It kind of lit up when she said that. It's a weird thing to say. I don't know, again, without going and over analyzing it, it is odd that she would use the dreams on life support. Could just be a weird phrase of speech during that time, but I'm not saying she's putting a coded message out there. I really don't think that the victims know much.
No, I don't think the victims know half what they think. And I think what happened was, I'm certain what happened. There was an insider that Steve Gonzalez trusted, either a Fed or a prosecution or both, who told Steve things. Hey, look, here's what we know. Don't tell anybody, but here's what we know. Trust us. When this gets to trial, we're going to show everybody and there will be no questions. And at the last minute, Steve Gonzalez finds out we don't really have any of that stuff and you're not going to have a trial and it's never going to come out. And basically lied to you for two and a half years saying, trust us, man, you're going to see everything. And they don't have anything. So he trusted them. He trusted them and a little bit. I mean, he did hire his own private investigator because he said, I didn't want to just wait around for them to tell me what happened. But by the same token, he was keeping his mouth shut about things because he was told, look, man, it's all going to come out. Don't worry. It's all going to come out. You're going to see it for your own eyes. And then he's like, now we're not having a trial and it won't come out. And you didn't make Koberger admit to anything that he did specifically. You just admit it. You just said, yeah, I did it. But where's something that tells me exactly what he did exactly, and something that I know that I can sleep at night knowing that he did it and he did it alone because he told me something that seals the deal and leaves all of the questions off the table. But they're not going to get that. I don't think they're ever going to get that. I don't think you're going to get it but before sentencing, and I don't think you're going to get it after either.
This is kind of a deep question. How do we fix this? And when I say this, I'm not just talking about the case specifically. How do we fix when somebody, take Brian Koberg out of it, when somebody's truly getting railroaded by the system, whether politically, legally, financially? How do you fix? How can you fight against it? You need such a massive movement that I would argue is now becoming more and more of a chance as these AI algorithms can target keywords, words that are said, words that are on screen, words that are in the description. It can monitor everything. And going viral is like playing the lottery at times.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have a lot of trust in things like protests, but that is a start. If every single time in America there was a gag order that sealed the truth, if people would protest outside the courthouse steps every single day saying truth and transparency, open up the records, let us see the facts, quit hiding shit, and made it a stink so that every single time there was a trial, CNN had to cover more people outside bitching about how we're having secret. That's what we need to do. We start doing the narrative. We have secret courts in America. People are tried in secret courts, and that's supposed to be against our Constitution. You're not supposed to have secret courts where people are tried in secret. And so it just requires more people refusing to accept that and being extremely vocal so that the media can't hide it anymore. They can't pretend like, oh, well, you're only the rare people on YouTube give a shit about secrecy and all this like that. And make it clear that it's the public that has the problem with it. But I don't know how you do that other than, again, completely protest on the steps of every courtroom who has sealed documents and hide shit from the public and say, we're not going to tolerate this anymore. Fucking open up your records, quit hiding shit. There's not supposed to be secret trials in America.
It seems like one of the only things, and I'm going to steal Sammy's point from last night, is you need your own like parallel system. You need some, like, I don't know how else to describe it. She said it much better than I did last night, but stop asking permission from power. If we disagree with it, it's like, let them scream on CNN, let them censor TikTok, let them do all this. When we stop needing them is when things will change. And in a court of law, if you want to go down a rabbit hole, I'll kind of flex the rabbit holes that I've gone down by being a sovereign citizen, and how you look at maritime law and why we all have birth certificates and what our social security numbers really mean. And I'm sure you've gone down those rabbit holes as well, DA. Though I've never obviously done it myself. I've seen a couple clips of it being successful where the judge ends up leaving the stand and then the court is completely dismissed. I'll stop because I'm going to open a can of worms where I won't be able to stop explaining it. Just look up maritime law.
Yeah. Yeah, that is a massive. Yeah, I know what you're talking about, and it's a massive can of worms. Yeah.
But is it a thing where do people need to start to learn common law? And is that a thing where that's the parallel system? There's a lot of really, really good arguments. I'm convinced that common law is the law of the land, that's what this was supposed to be. And maritime law came in and took over. Yeah.
And I guess that's my shtick on my Devil's Advocates channel is I'm trying to educate. I'm always shouting from the rooftops something that like Sammy T said in here earlier, which was basically when then the law itself, when the prosecution itself breaks the laws to convict people, it's just she didn't word it that way. But the point being is that's my problem. We can't call ourselves a nation of laws and then have the very prosecution against you breaking your civil liberties, breaking the law, breaking the United States Constitution to put people away. Then we might as well not be a nation of laws. It's telling people laws only exist for the little people. And if that's the kind of country we live in, then we've been lied to about what America is. We either have a great system that believes in people's innocence, you're presumed innocent until proven guilty, or we have a complete joke and mockery, and you can break the law and you can spy on people illegally and you can do whatever you want. And when you get caught, you'll just hide it and take a plea deal and not have to show to the American public how much you're spying on people, how much you're breaking your constitutional rights, because we have no law in this country, or the law just exists for the little people. So anyways, that's my rant again. That's what my passion is.
I like when you get passionate about it. I like when everybody gets passionate about it. And we went down a rabbit hole last night, Devil's Advocates, that was talking about the what was the name of that document? Let me look it up. Where is that stream from last night? Sorry. We were looking up the document that was called and now I can't find it. Son of a. What was that document, Hive? What was the name of it? It was something about, it was for Kohberger's extradition. It was at the end of the stream last night. Sammy T pulled it up. Anyways, yeah, but it had a certain name and I can't remember it. Anyways, we looked that up and we put it into ChatGPT, and we were talking about, hey, is this, and sorry, no, my phone's blown up. Jesus, I'm trying to focus. We were putting this document into ChatGPT, and it was the paperwork for Kohberger's extradition, and it had miscellaneous listed on it. Now, I will say that somebody did send me an email that talks about how they were listening to my podcast from last night. They work as a paralegal for criminal defense. All extradition cases are docketed as miscellaneous, regardless of who they are, what county they're in. Because we're like, okay, why is it listed as miscellaneous, not, homicide, high profile murder? There's a lot of weird things on it. This person goes on to say Kohberger's docket has the PD's office listed as his counsel. Sometimes ChatGPT doesn't have all the answers. We know that. But she goes on to say that there's something definitely off about this case. So I want to add. Well, just to finish that point real quick, it's that if that paperwork wasn't filled out right, or if that paperwork was done to shield and give somebody legal sidesteps, federal legal sidesteps, then everything that we think we're watching as a overreach on our rights, it's not legitimate. So it's really not. It just looks that way if you want to wear that tinfoil hat.
Yeah.
Anyways.
I want to add a sobering thought. It's funny because I had a bombshell I was going to share about Luigi, but we're going so long already. I don't know that we can pull that off. But I want to say something about the Luigi case, which is recently Karen Agnifilo filed another example of how the district attorney in New York lied about a subpoena he didn't have, lied to Aetna and said that he had a subpoena, told them they had to appear before court on a court date that didn't exist, told them they'd be held in contempt of court if they didn't turn over paperwork to him privately about Luigi Manjon's medical records. All of that's completely illegal. And then I had this sobering thought. This is the sobering thought. That case has national eyes on it. If that's what they'll do, they violated his constitutional rights at least 4 times. At least U.S. constitutional rights. They violated Manjoni's constitutional rights at least 4 times. And Karen's pointed out every single time that they've done it, it's 100% illegal. If they'll do that when the entire nation is watching, how many times do they do that to the little guy who doesn't have a big attorney, who just has a public defender? How many people are going to jail? Because if they will do that when the entire effing nation is watching, then they're doing it all the time. And that's the sobering thought. I can't even imagine that they think they can get away with it with the entire country watching. They're going to be doing that when it's a little guy.
As you're saying that, was that the Easter egg thing?
No, that's not the Easter egg thing.
Well, I want you to get into that first.
Do we have time?
Yeah. Do you have time?
It's a little, well, yeah, I'm looking at, we've been an hour and 23 minutes. I thought you kind of went about an hour and a half, and I'm like, we don't have time to do this in 6 minutes, but.
Oh, no, we're good, man. Unless you got to be somewhere, we're fine.
No.
I try to do 75 to 90 minutes, but
Do you
if
know
you
of the
don't
way
want
for me to present things on screen so I can show you a few things?
Yeah, I got to take mine down quick.
And I don't know, are people okay moving off of Koberger? I mean, I realize we could probably talk Koberger for 17 days still. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm interested in hearing this because and while you're getting that, put up, I feel like we need to remember that we've been trained to lie to ourselves when something inside of you feels right. It feels like this is the truth. This is the most logical thing. And then what we've been told over and over and over again creeps into our head. And that's where we start to doubt ourselves. And it's like, you're not crazy. You are correct. This doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
It's not even about waking up to it. It's about remembering that we know what a normal case looks like.
All right. Can you bring my screen that I've got queued up in the materials down there? Oh, yes, you can. And can I scroll? Oh, yes, you can.
I told you.
All right. I would try to slow down a little bit for people who haven't heard this before. So for those who are not super familiar, because I know that your audience isn't super Luigi Manjoni, let me try to give you the 30,000 foot overview. Luigi Manjoni is the alleged shooter of Brian Thompson, the CEO of United Healthcare, who is alleged to have shot and killed Brian Koberger on the downtown streets of Manhattan on December 4th.
Brian Koberger.
Sorry. I do that all the time. I do that all the time. Shot Brian Thompson. Luigi Manjoni allegedly shot Brian Thompson outside of an investor conference on December 4th, 2024. That date's important in this little expose today. And by the way, this expose was brought to me by somebody on my stream in my Discord. And they said, did you know? And they gave me a factoid. And I said, there's no fucking way that I got it. See, I F-bombed.
Just let it go.
There's no way that can be true. So I did some searching and it was true. And I'm like, my head's going to explode. So let me back this up just a hair. One of the first things I said with the Luigi Manjoni situation is the shooter, by the way, was masked when he shot Brian Thompson. He walked calmly away from the shooting scene, and then he jogged across the street, got onto an e-bike, and went into Central Park. He disappeared for quite some time, and then later on, law enforcement saw an individual dressed similarly on an e-bike leaving the park, and we're all over him. And I've always said, what if there was a shuffle in the park and the actual shooter walked out the other direction and someone who looked like the shooter went out the different direction? Then all eyes were on the wrong person the entire time. And I asked that question early on. Was this some kind of grand game of, if you've ever seen the old movie Thomas Crown Affair, they did a little thing where everybody came in dressed with bowler hats and did a whole shuffle, and law enforcement didn't know who to follow. That kind of thing was happening on December 4th. Multiple people with black uniforms, with the backpack on, with the mask on, were walking around, and law enforcement was following people all over the place, thinking it was the shooter, and they were getting confused. And I thought that was done on purpose. Well, then you found out that the shooter left behind a bag of Monopoly money. And people were like, what the hell was the Monopoly money? And was that a message? What does that mean? And then you find out that when Luigi Manjoni is picked up in Altoona, Pennsylvania, and that's going to be a big part of this, we find out more about Luigi Manjoni, that he was a gamer, that he graduated from University of Pennsylvania, and he had co-created a club called Upgrade, which was the University of Pennsylvania Game and Research Development Environment, I believe, Upgrade. And they were a bunch of gamers. And so I thought, oh, well, a bunch of gamers just played a game on the feds, and they dropped a bag of Monopoly money as an Easter egg. And then you started to go, now all of a sudden you find out that Luigi Manjoni had a profile on X where he had a picture of himself and his spinal cord injury that he had, which has a medical denial of claim issue around it. So Luigi Manjoni had a picture of himself with a Pokemon, and the Pokemon was Breloom. And people gamers, here's the thing. It's like Easter eggs are being hidden for gamers and people who are young enough to start looking for the Easter eggs. So he has a picture of himself with his profile with Breloom, and every Pokemon has a number. That number is 286. So some people started to look and they're like, hey, here's a weird coincidence. The very last post that Luigi Manjoni made on his X account was number 286. The Pokemon on his screen is 286. Is he trying to send a message? So then people dug deeper and they said, wow, in the medical industry, 286 is a denial of claim code. What it means is when you get denied by an insurance company paying your bill, you have a chance to appeal that. But that appeal runs out after about 30 days. And if it does, then it's called 286. You ran out of times for your appeal. Ultimate decision, you don't get paid for it, right? So then it was like, well, did Luigi Manjoni just make a hidden Easter egg to point people to 286, right? So then you start going down that thing. And I just want to point out, so as we start to lay this out, I want to point out this is Newsweek. I consider Newsweek a pretty reputable thing. It's not like New York Post where it's a bit of a tabloid and you have to question. Newsweek vets stories very well. Here you see on the screen Luigi Mangioni's conspiracy theories flood social media. Of the thing I want to talk about, Luigi Mangioni, it says amateur sleuths have focused on cryptic symbols, video games, hidden Bible references, and the number 286. Right here, Breloom, a grass type Pokemon, is listed as number 286 in the franchise. It talks about that. And then adding to the intrigue, Mangioni was arrested 286 miles from Thompson's murder. And I thought to myself, are you kidding me? Now, when I looked it up on Google Maps, it wasn't exactly 286. But again, Newsweek cited it as 286. And there are paths you can take that take you to 286 miles, which might tell you something right there. A good internet sleuth might be saying, okay, where do you have to pass? The roads do you have to take to get exactly 286 miles? Was there an intentional thing? And remember about the Monopoly thing. Monopoly, Altoona, Pennsylvania, Monopoly was a big game for McDonald's for forever. So Luigi Mangioni gets arrested in the McDonald's, which used to have the Monopoly game. Pennsylvania Railroad ends in Altoona, Pennsylvania. It was one of the first places that the last stop was. To make the passenger cars go to Altoona, Pennsylvania, they had to establish the horseshoe curve. Luigi Mangioni tried to check into the horseshoe curve inn right before getting arrested in the McDonald's. Was he making a hint that he's got a whole bunch of shit tying into Pennsylvania Railroad, Monopoly money, the whole thing about the establishment, 286 miles away, but then somebody dropped this bomb. All right, so let me show you one more thing before I drop the bomb.
And this is a new 286 clue.
Yeah, what?
This is a newer 286 clue.
Yeah, yes, a new boom on 286. Okay. So here is an older article. This does not talk about my boom either, right? Luigi Mangioni and the number 286. What's the correlation? So I'm not the only one picking up on this, right? New York City, December 4th. Again, pay attention to this date. Some claim Mangioni was a criminal mastermind who planned the murder, while others have different theories. In particular, many have endorsed the 286 theory. If Mangioni is truly innocent of the stated crimes, then his connections to Thompson and the number 286 is truly the world's largest coincidence. The number 286 theory stems from Mangioni's X account, which we talked about, and how there's Breloom. We talked about that. We talked about those things already. The number 286 is the denial code. We talked about that. Seeing the string of events, I believe it's no coincidence. The repeated appearance of this number, the parallels between each meaning, Mangioni's use of it show he is not an unfortunate bystander who's caught in a whirlwind of accusations for no reason. Although he pled innocent, he must know something about the case or is simply a symbolic killer. The inclusion of spine injury with the screws next to an image of Breloom and the Pokédex number 286 is no mistake. It's almost a signature and a meaning behind the crime, on and on and on. Now, so check this out. So somebody says to me, hey, devil's advocates. So he was arrested. He shot Brian Kohlberg. I did it again. Brian Thompson. He shot Brian Thompson on December 4th, 2024. The next court date, they canceled all court dates in between. The next court date is September 16th. They said, I just found out the number of days between the shooting and his court appearance is 286.
Oh my God. How does that happen?
Look at this. I asked ChatGPT, how many days are between December 4th, that's when Brian Thompson was shot, and September 16th, which is the next court date? They did all the math. The total days between December 4 and September 16th is 286. Final answer, 286 days. It is exactly 286 days from when Brian Thompson was shot that his next court appearance is. Now, granted, it could be coincidental. If you're one of those people and you keep thinking, oh well, yeah, you just found a date 286 days earlier and then said what happened then. But it's just another one of those, as these articles, mainstream articles, Newsweek is reporting. You got the Philippian. They're talking about. There's a lot of people saying there's hidden Easter eggs, and 286 showing up all the time isn't just a coincidence. And the crazy part is, the really crazy part, and this is only fit for Birdie's show, is when you start talking about a court date that might have been changed to line up with 286 days, then you start to ask yourself, is the government in on this? Because why would the government help Luigi Mangioni put something at 286 days? But then I will tell you this craziest theory that I've ever thought, which is that the So we just read this book called An American Sickness by Elizabeth Rosenthal because Luigi Manjoni said our healthcare system's broken, and if you want to know how broken it is, you should read this book. I did. I read the whole book, and I did reviews on my website or on my YouTube channel. But one of the things that came out in that book was abundantly clear. The United States government has been trying to stop the out of control health insurance industry for a long time. And every single time a president or Congress passes a law to try to stop the insurance industry or the healthcare industry, they find a way to work around it and make it even worse for Americans and fuck them even more. And at the time that Brian Thompson was shot, they were under multiple Department of Justice investigations. The government was going after them and they can't stop them. The health insurance industry literally buys off judges. They were told by the Department of Justice that their acquisition processes that they were doing at the time were illegal and an antitrust violation, and they bought off a judge essentially, and the judge said, nope, we're going to let them to continue to purchase a lower company called Change Health at the time. That's what the Department of Justice had a problem with. I know it's getting really deep and over people's heads.
No, I like it.
The point being is that the Department of Justice basically found that judges were being essentially bought off. That's my take. The judges were being bought off and saying, nope, we're going to let United Healthcare do it. So at some level, did somebody in the government hire a hitman to go take out Brian Thompson to do what fucking nobody else can do? Because it's not helping with legislation. It's not helping with anything else. And it's killing America. So, and then you start to ask yourself, because I literally made a video just recently and I was half joking. I even said, I'm only half joking, people. I'm not sure I'm kidding. Is the US government purposely trying to lose this case? Because they are making colossal mistakes. The arrest was illegal and almost certainly illegal. They violated his constitutional rights 4 times. Having the district attorney himself lie about a subpoena he didn't have and threaten someone with contempt of court that didn't exist, all those kind of stuff like that, this case is going to get tossed out. And is that by design? Are they trying to lose this case because maybe the shooter was doing the government's work on some kind of black op object? Because that's crazy fucking possibility in my mind at this point.
Dude, as you were saying that, I was on Reddit, I was ChatGPTing other 286, and I just came across this article. It says there's an IP address tied to a document drop site for people who follow that case. Have you heard about this one?
Nope.
I'm going to put the IP address in the freaking chat.
That could be like something .286, right? 2.86.
I'm shook right now.
Oh, fuck.
It's an internal network used for Sandbox. I don't know what that is. The archived Citizen Free Press article is the one that had, and it says also it's linked. Now, this one might be an internal, but see, that's weird. You can't. Okay, hang on. Apparently, if you type this in.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Hang on. Apparently, when you type in this now Citizen Free Press article that was once linked to an article of this case, the Google Cache URL pings HTTP 286 error, which technically that doesn't exist.
Huh.
Wait, I'm going to just real second. Can you remove your screen quick?
I was just looking for that option. I don't have the option to remove it. I think you're in total control. Yeah.
I just want to see if this is true. Okay. That's weird. It doesn't come up, but I don't see. Do you see any numbers on there? How would I?
At the very well, yeah. Usually there's a code error on that. Is there a button to show more? I can't really see it.
Oh, you guys can't see it. It doesn't pop up. I have the Windows Network Diagnostics going. It doesn't show up on the screen though. Well, I'm just hang on. Now I'm curious. That's so weird.
But here's the thing. I mean, this thing with the idea that Luigi Manjoni is playing a master game for young gamers, that if you're, it's like he knows that there's a certain audience, a certain young youth movement in America who will immediately get the game references and will start looking in the right places. Luigi Manjoni has written letters that have been made public to other people that say things like, don't forget the plot, people, don't forget the plot. And he's even written a letter, a famous letter called Tales from MDC, where he wrote this weird story that had all kinds of weird shit in it. People are like, I don't understand what he's doing. And I said, I think I do understand what he's doing. He's sending a message. If you look at what he's saying, he's sending a very cryptid message. And if you know how to look for the things, you can see what he's saying. And then they're like, I think you have way too much time on your hand. And I'm like, maybe, or maybe the guy is knowing that certain people will pick up on it.
Well, dude, now I want to go down this road. Do you think that the 286 pattern matrix is that supposed to send the people who are quote unquote playing this game, like, show us a clue that will then expose corruption? Does that make sense? Like, are they tying 286 into things? So they've let us know 286 is some sort of significant clue or pattern matrix. Are they putting it onto things that are really actually corrupt, and it's meant for the people to dig into it? Because why would you just plan it for a kid's game for Easter eggs to look into it unless there's really something effective?
Right. I mean, my theory is that they, if this is a group of individuals, like I originally said, that it's not one person, that a group of individuals did this to make a change, then they have a master plan. And it's almost like they kind of want those who are smart enough to figure it out to enjoy the big reveal. When they make the big reveal, they want to have kind of like that group of fan fiction where, like, I knew it, I saw it, I've been following your messages, I knew this was coming, kind of thing. And it's one of those things that's not going to ruin, it's not going to ruin what's coming, but they've got a big master plan in head, and there's going to be a group of people who are going to be like super fans of what they pulled off because they're super geniuses and have laid Easter eggs down for the people who are smart enough to follow the breadcrumbs. So I don't know if it's a message to somebody. I mean, let me back up 1 second. There's still a possibility. It's complete, just people are just making shit out of something because we have too much time on our hand. But at some point, you have to ask yourself, is that all just a coincidence? Are we living in some kind of weird freaking matrix reality and it's just part of some master programmer playing a game with us? Or is it a group that is working together and is leaving Easter eggs? And like I said, I'm just touching the surface. There's a lot more Easter eggs. There's the fact that Luigi himself is the name of, the Mario Brothers character. And I said in one of my videos, is there a Mario out there? Is there a Mario that complements Luigi? And again, when Luigi was arrested, the false ID that he gave them was Mark Rosario, which I've said over and over again, sounds to me like Mario. You could say Mark Rosario is kind of a hidden pseudonym for Mario. And is there a Mario still on the loose? Is the shooter actually Mario, and Luigi's just helping Mario get away with the shooting? We're not even 100% sure that Luigi Manjoni was the shooter. Everybody sees, oh yeah, we know he's the shooter. We saw him. No, you saw a man in a mask, and you know what? He looks more like Jake Gyllenhaal than he does Luigi Manjoni. I mean, honestly.
I mean, so in Gematria, I don't know if you ever look into that.
Yeah.
182. I'm just trying to look for what it's 286. I don't see it here.
Yeah.
Have you done this before? I'm assuming that I can't.
I haven't done this. And here's the thing, like, I mean, I don't have a problem with numerology and seeing patterns and stuff like that. I don't have a problem with that. But I tried to make sure that when people are hearing about the 286 thing, that they weren't thinking I was saying this was a numerology thing per se, but more, like I said, gaming references left by gamers so that they would know. And there's more, by the way. This is
kind of just funny. I'm speculating on this, but
yeah,
you look at this, you got the second number is a 2. The first one is an 8. The last one is a 6. So if you think about it, right, like there's 3 numbers. The second number is a 2. The first is an 8. The last is a 6. Technically, those are 3 numbers in different positions that equal 286. I'm just putting that together on the fly. That's probably nothing. But now,
I have to say this, by the way. This is going to sound weird. I'm going to blow smoke up your ass for a minute.
Okay.
What you just did, by the way, I happen to know from way back when I was heavy into psychology, is a sign of high intelligence, right? You're seeing patterns that the average person wouldn't see. If you take the first digit in this number and the second digit in this number and the third digit in this number and put them together, you get 286. That's a sign of high intelligence. So kudos for you. You got a bright brain.
I'll give you the top dog.
All right. Yeah.
That a boy. Thank you. All right. So closing thoughts. Thank you for sharing that, DA. I always enjoy getting a little bit of the Luigi updates on it. That's a case that I regret not going in on. I think I would have had a lot of fun with that. And now I'm not saying that I can't be late to the party.
Right.
Maybe I will look into it.
It's far from over. Ali Benevento and I were going to be talking about this case all the way through the court document. Every single time something drops, Ali and I kind of talk about the legal documents in the case. So it is far from over, and it's going to get interesting. So,
Hive, type a 1 if we should do a stream just on Luigi, where I will only do my own research. I don't know shit about the case, and I don't know what's going to come out of it. But hey, Devil's Advocate's said I got a smart brain. Maybe I break this thing wide open.
Right. The more minds, the better. And disassociating and doing your own research for a while you might come up with something that nobody's seen before. So yeah, I would welcome that.
Well, and I want to finish the stream with something here. And I saw this, and it's about a bunch of people getting together to fight against the system. I didn't write this. I just found this. But it's like a couple sentences of a quote. And I just think that this holds true to everybody in this hive. And if you're a free thinker, and if you're not afraid to say it, and what you're saying might be different, and you don't care, it's very interesting. We're not here to fix the system. We're here to outgrow it. They trained you to call truth a threat. They trained you to feel safe in your own cage. That knowing is not paranoia. It's the last part of you they couldn't kill. I just think that is such a badass quote.
Yeah.
And anyways, DA, as always, I appreciate you coming on. I look forward to every Monday night. Just a quick update for everybody here. So next Monday, as I said, so on the 27th, we got the roundtable. Monday, we have Scott Payne. Tuesday, DA and Ali Benevento will be on. So Monday is going to be Scott. Sunday will be the Hive Mind. Tuesday is going to be Ali. I am very excited to get Ali back on the stream. The first time she came on, it was great. And that'll obviously be after the sentencing. So, yes. Which is why we were chatting about having her on.
Yeah.
I failed you tonight, DA. I didn't have a tinfoil hat conspiracy of the day. So if you got one in the chamber that you want to throw out there for the Hive, feel free. If not, don't worry.
I mean, I thought my conspiracy of the day was entertaining the idea that the federal government hired somebody as a hitman to take out Brian Thompson in New York, and then make it and then purposely lose the case so they can take care of business. I thought that was a pretty good conspiracy myself.
Yeah, I think that would check the box. Yeah. And then South Georgia Stacker, thank you so much. I will look up Sandbox and Stingray. I know the Stingray is Intel equipment. Sandbox, I believe, is as well. So thank you all for the super chats. I hope everybody has a great rest of their Monday evening. And with that being said, Hive, I will see you tomorrow at 7 p.m. Central. Thanks, DA.
Thank
Cheers,
you.
everybody.
Later.
Birds flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Breeze drifting on by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life.